Top Guy Brian Haremza asks, did Kurt watch any of the NCAA wrestling championships? And if so, other than Gable Steveson, was there someone that caught your eye and that you enjoyed watching?
You know what? The NCAAs this year was incredible. Some of these guys are such good athletes. It's like this new type of training, you know, the core training and all the parkour training and all these crazy stuff that they do now. It's made them into a lot better athletes than we were in our younger days.
Yeah.
But you know, I was watching and I saw a kid that caught my eye. He was from Penn State. He was a 197 pounder. He won the NCAA Division I championships. His name was Max Dean. I think he would have the ability to cross over to WWE. I would like to see that if that's possible.
Guys, Max Dean, do your homework, look him up.
Penn State.
You heard it here first on the Kurt Angle Show when he comes a big star one day. So there you go.
I know my stars.
That's right. He does. He knows his stars. And so, no, that's cool, man. And you never know what could happen. And one day, guys could say, hey, I remember when Kurt Angle spotted him. And then there's a wrestling company that's going to be like, we need to hire Kurt Angle as a consultant. This guy can pick some talent. So there you go. Hey,
that's probably not going to happen. But
that's what Gerald Briscoe did for many years. You know,
you're right. You're right. He recruited quite a bit.
Yeah. So there you go. Adfreeshows.com top guy John Hickson, good buddy, he said, what is Kurt's Mount Rushmore of collegiate wrestling? And then he shares his. Mine's Dan Gable, John Smith, Cale Sanderson, and Danny Hodge. So if you had to pick,
pretty damn good.
You had to pick 4 guys.
Okay, my 4, it's almost identical to his. The only person I would take out, and it's not because he doesn't deserve it, but it's because this other person deserves it more. I would say John Smith, Dan Gable, Danny Hodge, and a guy named Dave Schultz from Foxcatcher, the guy that got shot and murdered by John DuPont from Team Foxcatcher. Dave was the greatest wrestler I ever saw in my life. Greatest technician, most intense wrestler I've ever seen, a badass. And, you know, it wasn't that he dominated. He did dominate, but not as much as the other wrestlers that we're talking about. So, you know, Dave won a world championship. He might have won 2 and he won the Olympics, but his brother actually did better. His brother won 3 world championships and made 2 Olympic teams. But Dave was the best. He was the greatest technician of all time. I learned so much from him, and I had so much respect for him. I have to put him in the top 4 in the Mount Rushmore.
What about some of these other guys you mentioned, like John Smith? For those that maybe never really followed amateur wrestling.
John Smith was one of the best takedown artists I've ever seen. He had a new move called the low single. He would attack really low, right around the ankles. He was so quick, you couldn't catch him. And whenever you go to step in to tie up with him, he was already on your foot. He had your leg. It was just incredible. And he had this technique called the low single that he dominated. He went through, I believe he won 4 or 5 world championships and 2 Olympics, all back to back, 7 years in a row. The only wrestler to do that from the United States. So John Smith is definitely up there. Kenny Monday is another one I would put up there, but not right now. I'm going to go with Danny Hodge, Dave Schultz, Dan Gable, and John Smith.
There you go. Good stuff.